With unwavering determination, Sung Jinwoo finally subdued Igris to serve as one of his Shadow Knights. His entire army of shadows knelt in reverence to their new king. Jinwoo had now become a ruler, the king of shadows. Exhausted, Jinwoo collapsed into a deep sleep upon returning home. It wasn't until he received an urgent call from his sister, Gina, that he woke up. Gina asked if he remembered what day it was. But Jinwoo had completely forgotten. Realizing he was still groggy, Gina panicked and urged him to head to school because today was an important parent-teacher meeting. Hearing this, Jinwoo immediately got ready. At school, Jinwoo's upgraded appearance, enhanced after leveling up, and his sharp suit left Gina nearly unable to recognize him. She jokingly remarked that he looked like a groom and even offered to introduce him to some friends. Jinwoo simply smiled and lightly pinched her cheek. The siblings quickly became the center of attention, especially among the female students. During the meeting, the homeroom teacher praised Gina for being an outstanding student, polite, diligent, and consistently achieving top grades. She also shared that Gina aspired to enter medical school, a dream that, while challenging, the teacher believed Gina could achieve. Hearing this, Jinwoo felt immense pride and discussed plans for Gina's future. At the end of the conversation, the teacher asked Jinwoo if he would allow Gina to pursue the dangerous hunter profession should she awaken her powers. The question left Jinwoo stunned, as he had never considered the possibility. The teacher also mentioned Song Yi, a student who recently awakened and dropped out of school to become a hunter. Later that afternoon, Jinwoo met Song Yi, one of Gina's classmates, surprised to learn he was Gina's brother. Song Yi firmly refused to return to school, stating her sole focus was earning money. Jinwoo warned her that the hunter profession wasn't as lucrative as she believed, especially with her current abilities. However, Song Yi stubbornly dismissed his advice, insisting he had no authority to lecture her. Realizing the danger Song Yi faced, Jinwoo decided to help her. Meanwhile, at the airport, Wang Dongsu, a rank S hunter and brother of Wang Dongsuk, whom Jinwoo had killed, arrived. Wu Jin-chul greeted him, but Dongsu announced his sole purpose was to find the two people responsible for his brother's death. Radiating killing intent, Dongsu declared that no one could stop him. Elsewhere, Gunhee and Choi Jong-in were discussing upcoming catastrophic events, worrying about the potential devastation if flying monsters reached their location. While they were studying the monsters' remains, conclusions were still far off. That evening, Jinwoo joined a simple dungeon raid to help Song Yi get accustomed to combat. An A-rank hunter named Kim Chun, a heavy-class warrior known for his resilience, was also part of the team. Today, Kim Chun is responsible for ensuring the safety of the other hunters as the team leader. Once inside, he'll remain on the sidelines and only step in if things get out of control. He seemed annoyed, assuming Jinwoo was just there to mess around. A total of 10 people joined this raid, with half being rank B hunters and 2 at rank C. Jinwoo found it odd that such a strong team was assigned to a C rank gate. He intended for Song Yi to experience the harsh reality of being a hunter. But this team seemed too overpowered for such a low-level raid. Sangmin's assistant even whispered to Jinwoo, asking him to stay out of it and let the other hunters handle things. Shortly after, the group entered the gate. Song Yi looked thrilled, likely because she was excited to be around someone as attractive as Jinwoo. But the mood shifted when the gate suddenly began surging with energy and turned red, a sign of extreme danger far beyond the team's capacity. Jinwoo immediately noticed something was wrong and tried to pull Song Yi out. But it was too late. He barely managed to stick his head outside to ask Sangmin and his assistant what was going on. But neither had any idea. Jinwoo urged them to call for stronger hunters immediately. Inside, Jinwoo's group was transported to a completely different dimension. Surrounded by endless snow, no one understood what was happening or how to return to the Red Gate. Kim Chun grew visibly anxious, knowing that what lay ahead would be incredibly dangerous. Song Yi asked Jinwoo what made Red Gates so different, and he explained, once inside, all contact with the outside world is cut off, and the only way out is to defeat the dungeon boss. Just as Jinwoo finished explaining, several icy arrows suddenly flew toward the team, targeting the 2 weakest hunters. One was killed instantly, leaving the group in shock. Song Yi, standing near Jinwoo, was protected as he caught one of the arrows with his bare hand. A female healer in the group witnessed Jinwoo's quick reaction and was astonished. She couldn't understand how someone supposedly at the rookie E rank could be so skilled. Meanwhile, Jinwoo identified the attackers as two frost goblins, brutal and highly dangerous creatures. He crushed the arrow in his hand, causing the goblins to retreat. This wasn't the main fight, it was just a grim welcome. Terrified, Song Yi asked why the frost goblins were so cruel. Jinwoo explained, "That's just how the dungeon works. But this place is far worse. Here, we're the prey." He hoped this experience would scare her enough to reconsider becoming a hunter. Kim Chun tried to rally the team, emphasizing that they were completely isolated in this strange place. To survive, they needed to follow his lead. However, he announced that he wouldn't take everyone with him. Weak hunters would have to stay behind to increase the group's chances of survival. Jinwoo wasn't happy, suspecting this was just another excuse to abandon those deemed useless. The rank B hunters quickly sided with Kim Chun, while a rank C hunter tried to join them but was shoved aside. One female hunter, however, decided to stay with Jinwoo after witnessing his earlier display of strength. She confidently declared that Jinwoo was probably the strongest person here, which was why she trusted him. Jinwoo remained silent, which only strengthened her belief. Since they were both women, it seemed easier for her to strike up a conversation with Song Yi as well. The team leader signaled his group to head in a different direction, hoping that if they managed to kill the dungeon boss, everyone would return safely. Jinwoo didn't comment and even joked, wishing them to have fun. One hunter, left behind, reluctantly joined Jinwoo's group. Their path led deeper into the forest, completely opposite to the other team. After walking for a while, Kim Chun spotted signs of a monster's presence. Judging by the enormous claw marks, he concluded the creature was extremely dangerous. He was sure the group left behind wouldn't survive and wondered why a rank B hunter had chosen to stay with Jinwoo, a mere rank E. Before he could ponder further, a massive white bear appeared. Kim Chun quickly instructed the group to form a defensive circle. But it wasn't just one bear, an entire pack emerged, roaring to summon their kin and signal the start of battle. The first bear attacked but was blocked by Kim Chun's shield, shattering its claws and bones. Before it could recover, Kim Chun cleaved it in half with his battle axe, showcasing the skill of a rank A hunter. Yet instead of retreating, the other bears grew even more ferocious. Meanwhile, Jinwoo's group continued deeper into the forest. Seeing the danger signs, the rank B hunter warned that they might be entering the bears' territory. Jinwoo calmly replied that if it was their territory, they only needed to worry about the bears. Compared to the intelligent and weapon-wielding frost goblins, bears were a better alternative. This revelation shocked the others but made the rank B hunter realize Jinwoo had calculated everything. However, Jinwoo also pointed out that the cold would become another problem. It was manageable during the day, but at night, they risked freezing to death. To prepare, Jinwoo opened his status menu and purchased thermal gear, surprising the group when warm coats appeared out of thin air. The female hunter marveled at his spatial magic, typically reserved for the strongest hunters. Song Yi, curious, pressed Jinwoo for an explanation. Jinwoo gently patted her head, telling her she was here because of him, so he would take full responsibility. Blushing, Song Yi nodded and promised not to worry anymore. Jinwoo also signaled the others not to ask any more questions. Soon, the bears caught the group's scent and began approaching. From the perspective of weaker hunters, the bears were as massive as mountains. Jinwoo calmly signaled his team to stay put, ready to begin his fun. Outside the gate, Baek Yonho, the White Tiger Guild's chairman, arrived but was unable to enter. Despite being a rank S hunter, he feared the raid team wouldn't survive. Sangmin reassured him, saying Jinwoo, whom he trusted immensely, was inside. When Yonho asked about Jinwoo's rank, Sangmin revealed he was officially rank E but had undergone a second awakening. Just then, a vehicle carrying Dongsu, another rank S hunter, arrived, shocking everyone. Dongsu, who lived in the US, had suddenly returned to South Korea to find Jinwoo. With his extensive sources, he knew much about Jinwoo and insisted on meeting him before the monsters inside could kill him. Hoping that guy couldn't get through the gate, and praying that Jinwoo would somehow escape this dangerous situation. Back to Jinwoo, he had already taken down the white bear horde under everyone's watchful eyes. Since he had forbidden questions earlier, no one dared to speak up, fearing that he might leave in frustration, which would spell doom for them all. As Jinwoo predicted, the monsters inside the Red Gate provided enough experience for him to level up. Being sent here didn't seem so bad after all. The B-rank girl approached, her face filled with astonishment. By nightfall, thanks to the bear meat Jinwoo had hunted, the group enjoyed a hearty meal, while the group basked in safety and indulged in their special treat. Jinwoo silently activated his stealth ability to venture out and hunt more monsters. Not only did he clean up the surrounding areas, but he also went straight into the heart of their lair. Facing an overwhelming number of white bears, Jinwoo summoned his shadow army to lessen his burden. The majestic shadow general, Igris, appeared, ready to carry out the commands of the Shadow Monarch. A fierce battle erupted between the shadow army and the bear horde. Although the shadow army was heavily equipped and had the advantage of resurrection as long as Jinwoo had mana, the bears were savage and relentless, tearing into their opponents. As the battle raged on, the alpha bear emerged, towering over the others. Its sheer size and presence were terrifying. With a thunderous roar that shook the entire forest, the alpha bear decimated the shadow army, and Jinwoo's mana hit zero. Left with no choice, Jinwoo sent Igris into battle. Armed with his massive sword and unmatched skill, Igris quickly dominated the alpha bear, inflicting severe wounds. Even as the alpha tried to unleash its final attack, it was swiftly decapitated by Igris. Jinwoo was pleased, praising Igris for his excellent work. Meanwhile, Kim Chun faced utter despair. His entire team had fallen to the Ice Goblin army. As a team leader, he felt ashamed, but the goblins were far stronger than what an A-ranked defender like him could handle. Terrified by their emotionless expressions, he screamed and ran, while the goblins sneered, choosing to toy with him rather than kill him outright. Back to Jinwoo. After recovering some mana, he used his summoning ability to resurrect the white bears as part of his shadow army. Although none were as strong as Igris, this significantly bolstered Jinwoo's forces. Outside the gate, Dongsu continued to wait patiently. By now, a whole night had passed, equivalent to several days inside the dungeon. Thinking Jinwoo was likely dead, he was about to leave but then noticed something odd. Jinwoo wasn't a member of the White Tiger Guild, so why was he inside the gate with their team? When Sangmin explained that Jinwoo was an acquaintance he had invited, Dongsu turned abruptly and grabbed the manager by the collar. They thought it was the end, but luckily, Guild Master Baek Yonho arrived just in time to protect his people. When he shifted into his beast form, the aggressor finally let go, though still taunting. "Do you think you're qualified to give me orders? Not even an entire country can do that," Baek retorted, asserting that this was his territory and told the man to watch his arrogance. The tension escalated as the two unleashed their overwhelming power, scaring Sangmin out of his wits. This battle had the potential to cause catastrophic damage to the city. Both S-rank hunters charged at each other with unimaginable strength, but Jin Chul intervened just in time, calmly stopping them. His action shocked Dongsu, as Jin Chul's power seemed to have neared S-rank level. Jin Chul managed to defuse the situation, explaining that he had evaluated Jinwoo's strength a few months ago and found nothing unusual. Hearing this, Dongsu sneered, claiming their investigation was full of flaws and questioning whether they could truly vouch for Jinwoo's innocence in his brother's death. However, his suspicions shifted toward Jin Ho, the son of a large construction company, as the more likely suspect. With that, he decided to back off and received a message from the U.S. Association, prompting him to leave. Sangmin breathed a sigh of relief, narrowly escaping death. But no one was as carefree as Jinwoo's 3 team members. While stuck with nothing to do, they had cooked up a variety of meals to stockpile. When team leader Kim Chun returned, he was stunned to see the group laughing, talking, and enjoying their food as if they weren't in any danger. Losing his temper, Kim Chun accused them of hoarding supplies, claiming there was no way they could be living so comfortably while he had endured the bitter cold. Frustrated, he drew his sword, demanding answers. At that moment, Jinwoo arrived, effortlessly pressed his head down, and tossed him aside. Jinwoo pointed out that Kim Chun had led the team into danger and now dared to blame others for his mistakes. To make matters worse, he had brought along some very dangerous guests. Right then, an army of ice goblins revealed themselves, led by their king. Jinwoo saw this as a perfect opportunity to deal with them once and for all. When the Goblin King insulted him, Jinwoo immediately teleported and decapitated one of them as a declaration of war. Both sides prepared for battle. But Jinwoo quickly realized the goblins were connected to the system. The Goblin King was equally surprised, noticing that the usual voice urging them to kill humans was absent in Jinwoo's presence. The Goblin King offered a deal: if Jinwoo handed over his teammates, they would avoid conflict. But Jinwoo outright refused, stating he had promised to protect Song Yi and wouldn't let anyone harm her. When Jinwoo asked where they came from, the system intervened, erasing the Goblin King's ability to respond. Amused, the Goblin King summoned his army. But Jinwoo countered by calling forth his shadow soldiers. The ground shook as massive forces gathered on both sides, leaving Jinwoo's team in awe. They finally realized that his power was nothing short of godlike. The Goblin King, convinced Jinwoo's army was no match for his, smirked and said, "Let's find out." With that, the long-awaited battle for dominance began. Once again, the two armies clashed in a fierce battle. This time, however, it was a bit different, as the ice goblins were all skilled warriors. Amid the chaos, the three of them had to rush to the back. When bulls fight, flies get squashed, so they had to be careful. The goblins targeted them, but Sung Jinwoo quickly intervened, not only catching arrows but also slicing through the goblins, leaving them in pieces. Seeing the situation, Jinwoo felt a bit uneasy. While the Dark Army could regenerate, it consumed a lot of mana, and the Goblin King hadn't even made his move yet. This guy was a real monster, one of the strongest, so recklessly summoning Igris might not give them an advantage. The Goblin King launched his attack with terrifying speed, but Jinwoo managed to block it, which seemed to please him. So the king introduced himself as Baruka. Jinwoo responded, "I'm Sung Jinwoo," and the atmosphere instantly grew tense. Baruka attacked again, but this time Jinwoo was more proactive, both of them showcasing their swordsmanship. Baruka seemed to have the edge, stepping on Jinwoo's sword and striking down. But Jinwoo's sword had a recall skill, catching Baruka by surprise. Though Baruka was annoyed and kicked Jinwoo aside, it was clear he was enjoying the fight. Jinwoo, on the other hand, signaled his mages to attack from a distance. Meteorites fell, but they didn't seem to hurt Baruka. However, they did stir Kim Chun, who was nearby. Seeing this, the team captain was furious. Remembering when Jinwoo had slapped him earlier, he grabbed a sword and rushed forward, determined to strike Jinwoo. Baruka had the same goal and thought he had won when he saw Jinwoo distracted. But Jinwoo had planned everything. He summoned Igris, who concealed their position with a snowstorm. In the moment that Baruka thought he was in control, he was stunned when a different commander of Jinwoo's appeared and took down Kim Chun. It turned out that while Kim Chun rushed to attack, Jinwoo had already made him fulfill his wish, and Igris finished him off. The battle continued as Jinwoo quickly turned Kim Chun into a new Dark Knight, giving him a new name, Iron, now an even stronger warrior. Iron used his taunting skill to force Baruka to fight him. But the matchup wasn't favorable, and assassin's speed was too much for a fighter to handle. Iron's strength was formidable, though, landing heavy blows. Three onlookers in the woods, who had been hunters for a while, were in shock at the sheer intensity of the battle. One of them, a B-rank hunter, had never witnessed anything like this before. It was like being trapped in a nightmare. Baruka, frustrated with Iron's taunting, attacked again, but Jinwoo switched places with Igris. Diving into the fight, the three-way battle raged on with incredible speed. Iron taunted again, distracting Baruka, which allowed the king to teleport and strike. Just as Baruka thought he had gained the upper hand, Jinwoo used stealth and delivered a painful blow. Still, Baruka was tough and didn't fall immediately. The mistake Baruka made was underestimating his opponent. As he looked around, it was eerily quiet. All his minions had been eliminated by Jinwoo's Dark Knights. Baruka, now enraged, charged at Jinwoo for a final showdown. He threw his weapon, but Jinwoo dodged it. Baruka mocked him, thinking he had outsmarted his foe. But Jinwoo's skill allowed him to retrieve the weapon at high speed. And though Baruka tried to block it, his weapon shattered. Jinwoo then revived Iron, who immediately grabbed Baruka. Using his immense strength, Iron restrained the Goblin King, taunting him, "Go ahead, try to dance some more." Baruka took a series of magical hits, and Iron continued to tear through his body. Though Baruka didn't die immediately, The damage was done. Jinwoo used stealth again to close in and deliver a fatal blow. Baruka tried to fight back, but it was too late. Iron finished him off. With that, Jinwoo earned experience and new skills, ready to level up for the next challenge. Iron kept pounding Baruka's dead body in anger, but Jinwoo had to step in and stop him, since Baruka was already dead. After being summoned, Iron seemed a bit dazed, making Jinwoo wonder why he had recruited such an idiot. Iron, acting oblivious, didn't seem to care, and Igris, fed up with his behavior, decided to leave so he wouldn't catch the stupidity. Iron looked around at the remaining undead soldiers and asked for praise. The whole group began celebrating and dancing, which left Jinwoo speechless. Jinwoo then returned to the 3 remaining survivors and told them everything was over. They all sighed in relief and smiled along with him. A portal appeared, taking them back, and everyone was grateful to have survived. Jinwoo glanced at the body of the Demon King and felt a bit regretful. So he decided to summon him as a teammate. Outside, since the time in and out of the portal was different, Sangmin suggested they all rest. However, Baek Yonho refused, as many members of the guild were still unaccounted for. Suddenly, the portal turned green, signaling the return of the hunters. At first, everyone thought Kim Chul and the B-rank hunters had survived, but it turned out to be the weakest members who were the last ones standing. When Jinwoo stepped out safely, Sangmin was overjoyed. However, Baek Yonho still didn't understand what had happened inside, so he detained Jinwoo to ask questions. Jinwoo replied, "I'm tired, you can go ask the others." Brushing him off, Baek Yonho was surprised by Jinwoo's attitude. Very few people dared act that way toward an S-rank hunter. Angered by the disrespect, Baek Yonho switched to a combat stance, insisting that Jinwoo answer his questions, especially since 6 of his members were missing. Jinwoo wasn't intimidated. In fact, he coldly stared Baek Yonho down and said, "I saved 2 of your guild members. The least you could do is thank me." Baek Yonho, realizing Jinwoo was right, had no choice but to apologize and back down. He then let Jinwoo and Song Yi leave. Baek Yonho, knowing it wasn't the right time to press further, kept quiet. Song Yi mentioned that after defeating the final boss, Jinwoo's mood had seemed to change, probably because he was exhausted. Sangmin defended Jinwoo, saying he wasn't a bad person. Hearing this, Baek Yonho told his department head to do whatever it took to recruit Jinwoo into the guild. Meanwhile, after Sangmin had protected her for days, Song Yi began developing feelings for Jinwoo. She even called him by his name, and though she was a little nervous, she shyly hoped she could follow him next time. Jinwoo was completely confused, not understanding what was happening. On the way back, Jinwoo examined the Demon King's weapon, realizing it was a high-quality weapon that suited him perfectly. When summoning Baruka, he had been rejected 3 times, and that had really irritated him. However, Baruka's ability to take on 3 strong opponents alone proved he could be a valuable asset to his team if he had been successfully recruited. Unfortunately, everything hadn't gone as planned, which was why Jinwoo was in such a bad mood earlier. The next day, Jinho came to pick up Jinwoo for work. Seeing his little brother's new outfit, Jinwoo could only shake his head. But what really confused Jinho was the fact that Song Yi was tagging along today. On top of that, the 2 seemed unusually close. Watching them interact, Jinho was convinced that his big bro must have done something to her. He reminded Jinwoo that Song Yi was still underage, but Jinwoo couldn't care less. As soon as Jinho stepped into the dungeon, he nearly had a heart attack watching the Shadow Army do their thing. Dude was straight up shook and had to ask Big Bro, "Yo, what are these things? Why are they so op?" Jinwoo, cool as ever, just shrugged it off, saying, just one of my skills. You'll get used to it. There's a lot more where that came from." Explaining everything would take too much time, so Jinwoo didn't even bother. Instead, after wrecking the dungeon, he let his shadows handle the looting too, basically stealing Jinho's job, leaving the poor guy feeling useless. All he wanted was some light work. But nah, Big Bro had everything covered. Meanwhile, across the ocean, on a sinking ship, guess who finally made a comeback? Jinwoo's dad, the legendary hunter who had been trapped inside a gate for years. Only problem? He popped up in the US, didn't speak a word of English, and scared the hell out of the local hunters. That night, after grinding through 19 dungeons like absolute maniacs, Jinwoo and Jinho hit up a bar as promised. Jinho was beyond grateful since, thanks to his bro, he finally got to talk to his dad. Next up on his to-do list? Passing the theoretical hunter exam and getting his guild master license. When he asked about Jinwoo's plans, our MC casually dropped, "I'll be super busy, so don't expect to hear from me." Probably not the best time to say that, since Jinho, tipsy and emotional, started spilling his guts, worried that he was just dead weight. He even opened up about his real brother, who's more than a decade older and, well, kinda hates his guts. Compared to that guy, Jinwoo has done nothing but help and protect him. At this point, Jinho's just wishing Jinwoo was his actual big bro. Jinwoo, being the unexpected softie he is, poured him another drink and declared, "Fine, from now on, you're my little bro." Cue Jinho's emotional breakdown. Dude didn't know whether to cry or chug his drink. Either way, they ended the night on a high note, getting drunk and planning their next moves. Back in the US, since nobody could confirm the mysterious man's identity, they locked Jinwoo's dad up. According to his statement, he had been trapped in the gate for the past 10 years. But somehow it linked up with another gate in the US, something that had never happened before. Naturally, the government was freaked out, worried he might be some humanoid monster. So they called in an S-rank hunter for questioning. Enter Wong Dong-soo, a Korean-American hunter, who at least spoke the language. When he asked for the guy's name, he got the ultimate Korean tongue twister, Sung Il-won. Cut back to Jinwoo, at the crack of dawn. It was time to say goodbye to his little sister. He told Jin-ah he'd be gone for about a week and reminded her to stay safe. She, of course, assumed her bro was taking a well-deserved vacation and maybe even going with someone special. Which had Jinwoo rolling his eyes. "I told you, I'm going with a friend." He sighed, but she just kept prying, curious about his non-existent love life. In reality, he was heading to the burning castle to conquer it. Last time he fought Cerberus here, he was only level 20. Now, over 3 times stronger. Theoretically, this place should be a cakewalk. The moment he stepped inside, the system hit him with a quest: wipe out the demons inside. His goal wasn't even here. But hey, might as well farm some XP. The mission required collecting 10,000 demon souls. Absolute insanity. But Jinwoo? He was built different, whether it was 10,000 or 100,000. He was gonna clear this place like a true raid boss. The next day, Jinho finally got his guild paperwork approved and had another talk with his dad. He wanted to run the guild himself instead of letting his older brother take over. His dad, seeing how serious he was, agreed, partly because Jinwoo was that guy. Word had already spread about Jinwoo's crazy feats, like wiping out an entire raid team and taking out corrupt hunters. Any hunter who survives 2 death flags isn't just lucky, they're the real deal. On top of that, Jinwoo had just finished clearing all the necessary dungeons for guild approval. Jinho's dad had also been keeping tabs on the White Tiger Guild, which had recently lost a bunch of high-ranked hunters after a C-rank gate randomly mutated. The only survivor? Sung Jinwoo. That sealed the deal. Seeing Jinho's determination and the fact that his son was friends with a powerhouse like Jinwoo, the old man handed over guild control to him. There was just one catch: he wanted Jinwoo in the guild. White Tiger was already trying to recruit him. But let's be real, that wasn't happening anytime soon. Jinho promised to bring his big bro back to the guild, making his dad super happy. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was out there farming demons like a pro. But unfortunately, this dungeon didn't allow necromancy. Otherwise, he'd have an army of demons by now. His only reward? A pass to climb higher. And just up ahead, a pillar of light was practically begging him to step in. Jinwoo realized this dungeon was massive, like an entire city stuffed inside a single tower. To speed things up, he called out his shadow beast. The alpha bear responded immediately, plowing through enemies like a living tank. Jinwoo was so impressed. He officially named it Tan-H because, well, it is a tank. Meanwhile, S-rank hunter Cha Hae-in was deep in thought about recent events. Normally, when a monster's body is recovered, it's supposed to be reported. But her guild master decided to keep it quiet at the Hunter Association's request. With the world on edge, they needed to recruit more strong hunters before the real battle began. Jinwoo figured this dungeon wasn't S-rank material. The demons here were just B-rank at best. There were a lot of them, sure, But they weren't exactly Einstein's. He had already climbed several floors and brought enough supplies to last. If his guess was right, this place had at least 100 floors. The real question was, just how up would he be by the time he reached the top? The mission to slay 10,000 demons wasn't done yet. But food supplies were running low. He originally planned for a week-long run, but at this rate, it might take 2. Remembering his promise to his sister, he decided to pick up the pace. When he finally collected enough souls, he encountered the area boss. Time to go all in. Jinwoo immediately summoned his shadow army. A red system warning popped up, screaming that this was a real threat. Outside, the White Tiger Guild was desperately trying to recruit Jinwoo. Problem was, he had vanished for a whole week. He, Jin and Sang-min, 2 people who knew firsthand how terrifyingly strong he was, were assigned to track him down. When they asked Jin, she just shrugged and said her brother was on vacation. But based on their investigation, Jinwoo hadn't left the country or joined any known raids. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo commanded his shadow army to deal with the minions while he faced the boss head-on. Igris led the charge, fighting fiercely. Lately, every time Jinwoo leveled up, he dumped points into intelligence, increasing his mana pool and letting him store even more shadow soldiers. Energy-wise, he was leagues above where he had been back in the Red Gate. The dungeon boss was ridiculously fast for its size. Jinwoo dodged and countered, but the red demon was just as stubborn as Cerberus had been. When it got too close, he used Iron's shield to block some hits, but even then, he was tanking hundreds of attacks. Realizing he needed to slow the boss down, Jinwoo played smart, leading it into a trap. The moment it lost control and charged blindly, he used the dust and debris as cover for a devastating finishing blow. Meanwhile, Sung Il-wan came face to face with Wang Dongsu. Dongsu scoffed when he heard Il-wan being called a monster, warning him not to say anything stupid since he was already in a bad mood. But Il-wan wasn't here for nonsense. He had one question. How much did humanity really know about gates and monsters? He revealed that what people had seen was only the tip of the iceberg. Something far more terrifying was about to awaken, something responsible for the worst disasters in history. Dongsu? Yeah, he had no clue what was going on. But Il-wan had only one goal: stop this catastrophe before it was too late. When Dongsu brushed him off, Il-wan made one thing crystal clear: numbers didn't matter. What truly mattered was power, and Dongsu wasn't anywhere near strong enough. Wang Dongsu glanced at the document and asked if the man remembered his own son. Of course, he did. He was the one who named Jinwoo in the first place. The moment Dongsu heard that name, his killing intent flared up. He had been searching for the brat. And now, out of nowhere, fate had thrown him straight into a showdown with the father. That bastard even had the nerve to declare that Jinwoo was dead and asked if there were any last words before things got violent. Meanwhile, Jinwoo had cleared the next set of trials. At this point, even a high-tier monster was trembling at the overwhelming power of his shadow army. But there was one problem: he had completely run out of food. With no supplies left, he had no choice but to stop and regroup. He was currently on the 75th floor, meaning there were still 25 more levels to go. It was exhausting, sure, but the rewards were insane. Massive boss monsters were dropping rare gear that significantly boosted his stats. From what he could tell, he was still missing one key piece of equipment to activate a full set bonus. On top of that, he had picked up a few items that could massively buff mages, making them even more overpowered. Then there was the mysterious key. Its details were hidden, but it had to be important. Jinwoo's ultimate goal remained the same: securing a fragment of the world tree. If he could gather that along with 2 other rare items, he'd finally have what he needed to cure his mother. Jinwoo stepped out of the gate, his face visibly downcast. He was still missing one crucial ingredient to craft the holy water of life. The last item? The purified blood of the Demon King. Of course, obtaining it required meticulous preparation. Thanks to grinding levels in the Demon Castle, his stats and level had risen significantly. However, his official rank was still E, which made accessing high-tier resources a challenge. Participating in advanced raids required joining a guild, but Jinwoo thought to himself that it was time to drop this ridiculous act. He'd be discovered sooner or later. His next goal was clear: to get his hunter license updated. The next morning, Jinwoo arrived at the association headquarters to get his stats reassessed. Coincidentally, members of the White Tiger Guild were there, scouting for new talent. When Yun Ki-chul spotted Jinwoo, he immediately called Baek Yoon-ho, urging him to come in person. Oblivious to this, Jinwoo proceeded with the process. Observing a group of nervous newbies speculating about their ranks, their chatter brought back memories, especially when one of them reassured the others that just being higher than rank E was enough to make a living. Jinwoo couldn't help but chuckle at the comment. When it was his turn, Jinwoo gave his name and details, then placed his hand on the black orb for the test. The device should have displayed his rank automatically, but it flashed red repeatedly. The rookie staff member, unfamiliar with errors, had him retry multiple times before asking a more experienced colleague for help. The moment the red signal appeared again, the veteran instantly recognized what was happening. Jinwoo wasn't breaking the device. His magical power simply exceeded its measurement limits, marking him as Korea's 10th S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, in another room, Choi Jong-in and Jin Chul were discussing a feathered monster. Research teams were dissecting it, trying to calculate its magical power levels. Jong-in remarked how unusual the recent events had been, especially the Red Gate incident involving the White Tiger Guild, where an outsider took down the dungeon boss. Suspicious, Jong-in questioned Jin Chul about the hunter's identity, but Jin Chul feigned ignorance, saying he had left the scene early that day. Back in the testing area, news of Jinwoo's immeasurable stats spread quickly, shocking everyone. Only 9 hunters in history had ever caused such chaos during an assessment. And now Jinwoo was the 10th. Yun Ki-chul couldn't hide his excitement, proud that Sang-min's instincts about Jinwoo were spot on. As the buzz grew louder, Choi Jong-in, nicknamed the ultimate weapon and known as the strongest fire mage, entered the room. All eyes turned to him. He immediately noticed the overwhelming power radiating from Jinwoo and realized this was the cause of the commotion. Seeing a rare opportunity, Jong-in introduced himself and invited Jinwoo for a conversation. Uninterested, Jinwoo brushed past him, saying, "I'm busy." The crowd erupted into murmurs. Jong-in, surprised, thought Jinwoo might not recognize him, but after confirming with Jin Chul that he had introduced himself, it dawned on him, Jinwoo just didn't care. Before Jong-in could react, Jinwoo had already vanished, leaving no trace, showcasing his assassin-like stealth. Just then, Baek Yoon-ho arrived, out of breath from rushing over. Seeing this, Jong-in pieced everything together. The White Tiger Guild's headquarters wasn't even close to this location. For Baek to come all this way, Jinwoo must be incredibly important, and he was right. Jinwoo was the one who defeated the boss of the Red Gate. But learning that Jinwoo had already left Baek disappointed. Worse, running into Jong-in here wasn't ideal. Jong-in was the last person Baek wanted snooping into Jinwoo's affairs. Later that night, Jinwoo visited his mother in the hospital. Seeing her in that state saddened him deeply. But he held on to hope, promising himself that he'd find a cure soon. As he stepped outside, he ran into Jin Chul, who admitted that Jinwoo had completely shattered his perception of hunters. Jin Chul explained that his department oversaw hunter surveillance and discipline. When Jinwoo asked if he was now under surveillance, Jin Chul reassured him it wasn't about committing crimes. His department was the only one capable of keeping hunters in check, but even they had no control over S-rank hunters like Jinwoo. Today, Jinwoo also sought help from Gunhee for a specific reason. He wanted to meet someone. As the person slowly approached, Jinwoo was shocked. The president of the Hunter Association, Gunhee, was indeed an extraordinary individual. First, he congratulated the young and talented man on being confirmed as an S-rank hunter. Although the news hadn't been publicly announced yet, it was certain Jinwoo would have to undergo additional evaluations, but the results would barely change, so there was no need to worry. The reason for the extra evaluations was partly to buy time for this meeting to happen. It gave the association a chance to reach out to a talent like Jinwoo before he decided to join one of the 5 major guilds. Unfortunately, many powerful hunters often choose not to work with the association, instead being drawn to the income and prestige offered by the top guilds. The director standing beside him was one of the rare exceptions, someone ranked at the top of a rank who still joined the association. Without delay, the old man got straight to the point. He wanted to invite Jinwoo to join them, to stand side by side with the association. If Jinwoo agreed, Gunhee would prepare an important position for him. When asked why he should accept the offer, Gunhee explained that the people truly protecting the country weren't the government but the hunters, who safeguarded civilians from monsters. At the center of it all were the 5 major guilds. Luckily, a fragile balance between these giants was being maintained. But if Jinwoo joined any one guild, that balance would be destroyed. The Hunter Association served as the 6th force to keep the guilds in check. This demonstrated the critical role Gunhee and his organization played. Gunhee believed that Jinwoo joining the association would be the best course of action. Not only could they intimidate the 5 guilds, but they could also maintain stability. Deep down, Gunhee thought that if Jinwoo joined, one day he might even relinquish his position as president to the young man. Jinwoo acknowledged that the proposal was not a bad one. Having a spot in the association would guarantee his rise. Outside of the government and the media, no one had the authority to touch President Gunhee. Not to mention, Gunhee was incredibly powerful. If they were to fight one-on-one, Jinwoo doubted he could win. Gunhee was the first S-rank hunter in the country, and despite being over 80 years old, his body was still muscular and intimidating. Jinwoo realized that accepting this offer would open a new chapter in his life. However, he apologized and declined. Gunhee initially thought it was because of money. But Jinwoo clarified, it wasn't about that. Jinwoo wanted to fight. The dungeon was where he truly belonged. His sincerity surprised Gunhee, who could see there wasn't a hint of deceit in Jinwoo's eyes. Gunhee placed a hand over his heart, wondering how long it had been since he'd felt this way. He silently wished he could turn back the clock by 10 years to stand beside Jinwoo on his journey. But that wasn't possible, so he let it go. Jinwoo excused himself, saying his younger sister was home alone. Watching Jinwoo leave, Gunhee was reminded of his own frustration, realizing that even an S-rank healer couldn't stop the effects of aging. Yet, the feeling surging through him now was like the fire of youth rekindled. He decided to cancel all upcoming appointments, unwilling to let anyone disturb his emotions. He even invited the director out for a drink, who readily agreed. Meanwhile, Jinwoo reflected on how the association could only manage low-level dungeons, like D or E rank ones, while he needed to grow stronger as quickly as possible to save his mother. The scene then shifted to the United States. Wang Dongsu, who had been beaten like a dog by Jinwoo's father, had finally regained consciousness. The deputy director entered the room to question him about a few things, specifically regarding the man named Sung Il-wan. The deputy wanted to know if that man was truly a monster. Filled with resentment, Wang Dongsu confirmed it. Currently, the bureau was trying to track down that monstrous man, though they weren't sure they could handle someone who had beaten Wang so severely. Hearing this, Dongsu fumed, seeing it as a humiliation. Before, Jinwoo's father had threatened him, saying if he dared to touch his family, death wouldn't be an escape. For an S-rank hunter to be threatened like that, it was a disgrace. Dongsu vowed to exact revenge when the time was right. Back in Korea, Jinwoo was searching for high-grade equipment. The hunter profession was thriving, so many weapons were being auctioned online. However, the prices were exorbitant, leaving Jinwoo frustrated. He needed to fully equip himself to conquer the demon castle. Yet, none of the items in the stores caught his eye. The optimal solution seemed to be selling some of his rare items to raise funds for new gear. The problem was that people would question how an E-rank hunter had such rare items. He'd need to create fake evidence at an A-rank gate, making it seem plausible. Coincidentally, he came across information online about a recruitment for an A-rank dungeon raid. Perfect timing. The next morning, Chairman Gunhee looked at an old photo of Jinwoo from 4 years ago and was shocked. Jinwoo had changed so much that he no longer resembled the naive boy he once was. Jinchul provided additional details about Jinwoo's family situation. His mother was in a coma due to a severe illness. His younger sister was still in school, and Jinwoo's income was the sole support for the family. Meanwhile, they received surprising news that Jinwoo had just joined a large-scale dungeon raid organized by the Hunters Guild, but only in a minor's role, which was unexpected. At that moment, Jinwoo was officially working under the guise of an E-rank hunter. In large-scale raids like this, tasks were divided clearly. Combat teams focused solely on eliminating monsters, while non-combatants handled the rest. Inside the dungeon, Choi Jongin, one of the nation's top hunters, was personally leading the charge. He instructed everyone to step back while he dealt with the monsters himself. Jongin skillfully subdued them while ensuring that the corpses remained intact to retain their high resale value. He also reminded a sharp-nosed female hunter to be cautious of the dungeon's smells, warning her not to overexpose herself, lest she fall ill. Shortly after, the team returned safely, surprising Jinwoo, while he already knew they were incredibly strong. Seeing them conquer an A-rank gate without a single injury was truly impressive. Among the team, his attention was drawn to Cha Haein, a strikingly beautiful and powerful S-rank hunter. Her aura radiated overwhelming strength, making Jinwoo wonder how many people in the world could compare to her. At the same time, Cha Haein seemed to sense the presence of someone equally powerful. She turned to look for the source of the aura but found nothing. Leaving her puzzled, it felt like the presence of Chairman Gunhee. But the trace disappeared instantly. Meanwhile, the excavation team, including Jinwoo, got to work. Jinwoo was eager to test how powerful the boss monster of an A-rank gate could be. While preparing, one of the other miners accidentally bumped into him. At first, the man intended to pick a fight, seeing Jinwoo's E-rank badge, but a single glance into Jinwoo's piercing eyes made him freeze and back down. Observing Jinwoo at work, the miner became even more shocked. What kind of E-rank could move like a beast of burden? During a break, Jinwoo asked for extra work, seemingly eager to help, but his real goal was to scout out the boss room. Excited by the challenge, he planned to use the 1-hour break to play a bit. Upon entering the boss chamber, Jinwoo's eyes lit up with excitement at the thought of fighting it. However, he held back. Killing the boss would cause the gate to close, disrupting the raid. Instead, he decided he'd just land one light hit to satisfy his curiosity. Just as he was about to act, Cha Haein appeared out of nowhere and asked what he was doing. Jinwoo was startled. He hadn't even sensed her approach. Jinwoo sighed, wondering what made him come up with the idea he just had. He pretended to be lost, telling Cha Haein there was nothing special, but she informed him this was the boss's room and warned him to stay away. As this situation affected many others, she was truly not someone to be underestimated. Earlier, he had seen the knife in his hand, but now it was gone. This was like some illusion. Since he apologized, she let him go outside. If he had provoked the boss at that moment, the entire mining team would have been wiped out. As he walked past her, she suddenly called him back. Cha Haein rushed over and sniffed. Startling Jinwoo, she noticed there was no unpleasant smell from him, but rather a pleasant fragrance, though she didn't dare mention it due to embarrassment. After checking his ID, she realized he was Sung Jinwoo, an E-rank hunter. Haein reminded him to be careful as he left, then let him go, wondering if his lack of odor was due to his low rank. When he returned to the team, Jinwoo reported being lost and meeting Cha Haein. The others thought he was lucky because they had only seen her from afar until now. She usually didn't take breaks to patrol like she had just done to ensure their safety, which earned her the admiration of many people due to her youth and attention to detail. Moreover, Haein despised the smell of other hunters because of her special physical condition, always needing a fragrant cloth to cover her nose. Jinwoo thought back to when she sniffed him and concluded that he didn't have the usual human scent, as the system had selected him, just like the Red Demon's words about him not being human. In the afternoon, work ended, and Jinwoo received his payment. The foreman praised him for being strong, which made their team work faster than the gathering team, and even offered him a long-term job with a high salary. But Jinwoo turned it down. The foreman didn't insist but asked him to work one more day, as there would be a raid on Gate A and C simultaneously. Jinwoo sensed something and asked. It turned out that the second raid team would be deployed, showcasing the strength of the Hunter Association, something no guild in the country could accomplish. Sending the second raid team to attack Gate A demonstrated the talent within this faction. That night, Cha Haein unexpectedly had someone investigate Jinwoo. The person on the other end revealed that Representative Choi had also asked for a similar task to be done. However, the information was not to be disclosed for now, which surprised Haein since this was the first time an E-rank hunter had been hidden by the association. Lying in bed, she compiled all the information about Jinwoo, his freedom of action in dungeons, being personally assigned for investigation by Choi Jong-in, and the association locking the data, making it clear that Jinwoo wasn't normal, especially since he gave off a fragrance that made her feel captivated. The next day, Jinwoo went to work and received warm greetings from everyone, which reminded him of past moments and made him smile. With his good mood, he worked in the dungeon like a machine. allowing the team to rest more. Afterward, they waited for the A-team to exit. Sun Ki-hoon approached, asking for help with transporting gear since their side was short-handed. And none of the others dared enter Gate A. Jinwoo agreed to go along, though the others tried to stop him, as Ki-hoon seemed to like him. Ki-hoon's team was much larger than the previous days, including 6A rank hunters and 3B rank. While they didn't have any S ranks, their strength was far beyond other guilds. Confident, they entered because this gate was considered weaker than the one Cha Hae-in's team had attacked. Inside, Jinwoo felt the magic power was less than in the previous dungeon and experienced an unease similar to when he was at the Red Gate. A female hunter from Ki-hoon's team tried to ease his tension, assuring him that their hunters were strong and that as long as they didn't act recklessly, everything would be fine. Ki-hoon wanted to succeed in this raid to have his team officially approved. When they sensed enemies, the entire team was ready to fight without needing orders, which surprised Jinwoo. As expected, the team was full of capable individuals. Their opponents were wolves, not too strong. The team coordinated effortlessly to defeat them. However, Jinwoo was puzzled as to why these creatures were here since they were only C rank. While this was an A- rank gate, he noticed the wolves wore collars, meaning they were likely being bred for work by someone. Jinwoo's bad feeling turned out to be right when a pack of high orcs appeared in various sizes. They immediately charged toward the team leader, shocking him, though he blocked the attack. The strike was powerful. The battle broke out, but the hunters were at a disadvantage since their skills had little effect on this species. The monsters are immune to magic damage, and the mage managed to use a binding spell on one, but it only held for a few seconds. The team summoned 2 fire warriors to assist, but this skill consumed a lot of Ki-hoon's mana, and just one monster managed to block them. The martial artist on the team was skilled, but the sheer number of enemies overwhelmed her, and she was quickly taken down. The healer had to work non-stop, and Ki-hoon saw the situation was critical, as the high orcs were as strong as A-level hunters. Naturally, the B-level hunters were under heavy attack, with one losing their arm but luckily being healed instantly. However, the healer became the target and couldn't save anyone else, forcing Jinwoo to use stealth to help eliminate the monsters. The healer was shocked when she saw one of the high orcs lose its head suddenly. But Jinwoo was simply weakening the monsters in silence to help the team defeat them. When the orcs stopped attacking, Ki-hoon was surprised and asked what was going on. Jinwoo skillfully kept his presence hidden and helped the team win. Fortunately, no one was injured further, and the healer later reported something unusual had happened during the fight. Team leader Ki-hoon asked if the big-breasted girl had done something, but she denied it. Other members also claimed they hadn't done anything. Only the girl in black noticed Jinwoo had used stealth. She felt Jinwoo was guiding everyone subtly, but didn't ask more, knowing he had his reasons. Some members of the team wondered if they should continue because it was too dangerous. But Ki-hoon decided to retreat to protect the team. He didn't want to risk everyone's lives. However, as they were preparing to leave, they found the gate was locked, and the barrier was too strong to break. The girl in black silently thanked them for retreating in time, as they would have surely been killed by the high-level mage otherwise. Suddenly, a massive surge of magical energy appeared, strong enough for even B-level hunters to sense. Meanwhile, their 3 mages were cursed as they tried to break the barrier. They soon discovered they were surrounded by an army of high orcs. Fully equipped, the leader approached, and Ki-hoon, realizing fighting would mean everyone's death, started negotiating instead. Kargalgan, the leader, appeared and demanded to meet with the team, offering them 2 choices: be killed here or follow him. Ki-hoon decided to compromise and agreed to meet with him, silently entrusting his hopes to Jinwoo. He advised Jinwoo to take the chance to escape when they saw the boss. As the barrier couldn't be maintained under attack, Jinwoo would contact the main team, who were ready to sacrifice themselves to close the gate. The situation became tense, but the team was very different from before. The healer also asked Jinwoo to pass on a message to her family, promising they would complete the mission until their last breath. But Jinwoo didn't want to die there, and she hoped he would survive and return. Meanwhile, Cha Hae-in came looking for Jinwoo but couldn't find him. She asked the excavation worker and learned that Jinwoo had entered the dungeon. Team A continued toward Kargalgan's lair, which housed thousands of soldiers. Even if they fought, they couldn't defeat them all. Kargalgan greeted them, saying they had finally arrived. Outside the gate, Cha Hae-in was completely confused. Why on earth is an E-rank hunter hauling boxes in an A-rank dungeon? Everyone has only one life. Yet Jinwoo is taking crazy risks like that? Something's definitely off. Just the other day, he was standing in front of the boss's room with a weapon. So there's no way he's messing up. But, desperate for answers, Cha Hae-in decides to go inside and see for herself. She asks an old guy if he has any weapons. But all she finds is a pickaxe. Not ideal, but it's better than nothing, right? At first, she thought about going in empty-handed. But after a second thought, a pickaxe seemed like a good backup. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is freaking out. The OORC army's presence is terrifying. There are way more of them than anyone anticipated. If even half of these guys escape, the whole city is toast. The stronger ones are way more intimidating than the others. And the A-rank team's mission is to close this gate. But with this terrifying boss? Yeah, that sounds like a no-go. Jinwoo's wondering if he's really that scary. Then uses his overwhelming aura to shut everyone down. The mages are freaking out because compared to him, they're basically just low-level casters. Ki-hoon, on the other hand, is too scared to ask why they're even here. The Grand Mage answers coldly, he's just here to toy with them for fun. To slowly kill them and enjoy the agony. Yikes, everyone's terrified now. An A-rank hunter, treated like entertainment? To the Grand Mage, they're nothing more than broken toys, ready to be tossed aside. Still, Ki-hoon fights on, and the mage notices someone in the group who's different. Intriguing. The team captain gives the order to attack, but when he looks back, everyone's frozen in fear, too scared to move. He's stuck by a skill called Defender's Horn. The Grand Mage then uses gravity reversal magic to send Ki-hoon flying. And before he can even process, he's dropped back down like a ragdoll. Ki-hoon's bouncing up and down, but it's definitely not fun. The rest of the crew just watches in sympathy. But then, Jinwoo steps in, catching Ki-hoon's body and asking, "Can I take care of all these monsters? Please?" Sure, he's technically an outsider, but the team's in real danger. And Jinwoo's not about to stand by. One of the guards tries to intervene, but Jinwoo grabs him by the throat and tosses him up to the ceiling. People are shocked. Ki-hoon knows this guy is strong and begs him to handle things. The Grand Mage scoffs, thinking Jinwoo's just copying his moves. But he doesn't care, and immediately unleashes his full magic power. Jinwoo admits this is the first time he's faced someone this intense. But guess what? They've just met the worst possible opponent, him. Jinwoo's shadow army bursts into action, squaring off against the OORC army. They may be outnumbered, but Jinwoo is feeling confident about the outcome. Back outside, Jin Chul arrives to investigate why an S-rank hunter is doing manual labor. When he meets the overseer, they ask about Jinwoo, and one of the guards from the other day nervously suggests something fishy's going on. After hearing that Jinwoo's in the dungeon, Jin Chul's totally thrown off. An S-rank hunter doing menial tasks? What is going on? He decides to gather intel and wait for tomorrow's news. He also hears that Cha Hae-in went in too, which only adds to his suspicion. Jin Chul immediately orders his team to check the magical readings coming from the dungeon, realizing there's a bigger mystery brewing inside. Right from the start, Jinwoo jumped into the fight to reduce the enemy forces. And wherever he went, monsters were just dropping like flies. His movement skills were just like Cha Hae-in's, which got the whole crew wondering, why would someone so strong be doing grunt work for us? According to Jinwoo's calculations, regular monsters were only slightly stronger than B-rank hunters, so it'd take about 4 to 5 deaths to take down a high OORC. But since the army of shadows could keep respawning, it wasn't an issue. The Grand Mage, seeing Jinwoo's cocky attitude, decided to step in and attack. He summoned a dragon head and mocked Jinwoo's soldiers, calling them nothing more than scarecrows. But Jinwoo wasn't impressed. In fact, he thought the arrogant one was the mage himself. The monsters may be able to respawn, but Jinwoo didn't care. He immediately threw a crystal block at the mage. When Jinwoo dodged that, the mage responded by launching rocks to deal widespread damage, draining Jinwoo's mana. Kargalgan, the big bad, thought the fight was already over and continued to bombard the battlefield with AoE spells until Jinwoo's magic ran out. But Jinwoo had figured out what was going on. Kargalgan was trying to keep him from closing the distance. Meanwhile, outside, after some measurements, it was confirmed that the gate had gone from a standard A rank to something approaching S rank. Jinchul immediately decided to get in on the action. though he wasn't sure what to expect. Back inside, Jinwoo stayed calm, even as his mana was running low. Kargalgan, thinking the fight was in his bag, was quickly put in his place when Jinwoo casually mentioned that running out of mana was no big deal. He could just drink a potion. Jinwoo then showed off his real power, calling back the souls of all the monsters he had already slain. He confidently told Kargalgan that the remaining monsters would soon be his shadow too. Kargalgan started to feel the pressure. His mind suddenly flooded with memories of an emperor figure and a relentless command to hunt humans. And just like that, Kargalgan didn't need any other reason to keep fighting. Kargalgan ordered his 3 elite guards to step in and eliminate anyone in his way. Meanwhile, Gui hunters received word about the S-rank gate, and things were looking bleak. They planned to bring in their strongest hunters for a coordinated attack. And if things went south, they might even need help from the White Tiger and Death God factions. Back to the battle, Jinwoo's guards, Iron and Igras, were wiping the floor with Kargalgan's generals. Kargalgan, realizing things were slipping away, got even more desperate. He began using all sorts of spells on Jinwoo. But when he tried to touch Jinwoo, his magic was easily nullified. Jinwoo smirked, saying he was immune to poison and curses. The Grand Mage, angry now, summoned even more powerful attacks. But Jinwoo wasn't fazed. With a single fireball, he obliterated the shield Kargalgan was so proud of, leaving the mage completely frustrated. Kargalgan then used a self-buff to grow even larger. Jinwoo, not a fan of giant enemies, quickly threw in a remark: "The bigger they are, the harder they fall." With that, a bunch of dragon heads appeared, attacking everything in sight, whether it was friend or foe, while Kargalgan set the entire area on fire. Jinwoo took full advantage of this chaos and moved swiftly, dodging everything while dishing out damage. But Kargalgan's attacks were weak, so Jinwoo used chains to restrain him. With Kargalgan now completely at Jinwoo's mercy, he was easily taken down right in front of Jinchul. Heian arrived, asking what the heck was going on, but Jinchul only shrugged, unsure of how to explain what had just happened. Meanwhile, Jinwoo smirked, saying he knew just enough about the hunter system to recognize how absurd it was that a battle-hungry hunter was now using soul magic. Jinwoo declared victory, stating that once Kargalgan lost his elite guards, the outcome was already decided. He then let his 3 guardians have their way with Kargalgan and finished the job. The boss is dead, but the guy doesn't dare take the loot because it's someone else's dungeon. The only reward is Kargalgan's shadow, and since the system asks for a name but he can't remember, he just calls it Fang for convenience. Surprisingly, this shadow turns out to be stronger than Igras, which totally makes sense for a boss from an A- rank gate. Just as Jinwoo is enjoying his moment, Jinchul and the others show up. He was so caught up in the battle that he didn't notice. When he's at a loss for how to explain, the monitoring team steps in, saying that Jinwoo's personal information is being tracked by the association. So everyone needs to keep it hush-hush. Ki-hoon is super grateful for being saved, and everyone bows in thanks, which actually makes Jinwoo pretty happy. He returns the will to the healer, and then Cha Heian asks why he's still holding that hoe, blushing and wondering if people think she's weird. The next day, Ki-hoon reports the dungeon incident, and Choi Jong-in feels lucky that everyone survived. Now, both White Tiger and Hunters owe Jinwoo a big favor. After hearing about Jinwoo's abilities, Jong-in can't believe it. Ki-hoon gets asked who's stronger between him and Jinwoo, and he responds by flipping it back: "Can you, Mr. President, conquer an A- rank gate on your own?" Jong-in, feeling embarrassed, reflects on being called the ultimate weapon, since even he can't take on the gate without help. Ki-hoon hopes the president will invite Jinwoo to join their guild and gets a promise that he'll do his best. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and Jin-ho are grabbing coffee, chatting about Jinwoo's guild. Back at the Hunter Association, an important event is happening, drawing a lot of reporters. Lee Min-sung is the center of attention today.